The MCAT CARS podcast, session number 11. The CARS section of the MCAT gives thousands of premeds nightmares every night. Whether you're an ESL student, lack confidence while reading, or are a slow reader like me, Jack Westin and the medical school headquarters are here to help you score higher in every section so you can be confident you're ready to get the MCAT score of your dreams. Welcome to the MCAT CARS podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your host here every week on a podcast where we're here to help you understand how to read for the MCATs, how to read specifically for the CARS section, which has notoriously been very, very hard for a lot of different students, whether you're ESL, whether you're a slow reader like me, whether you're just somebody who has trouble understanding what is being said. We're here to help you overcome those fears, overcome the anxieties, and help you gain the confidence to get the score of your dreams on the MCAT CARS section. This week, we are breaking down a Project Syndicate article about science and scientific knowledge. Jack Westin back for some more MCAT CARS podcast fun. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How is your day going?
It is going amazing. I get to talk to you and break down more articles, break down more sentences. I am learning a ton. I hope you listening are learning a ton too on how to actually break down these sentences. Take the author for his or her face value of what they're trying to tell us, as that's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, so far, I think you've broken it down so well, right? And I think you really capture what most students want, right, from these passages. Is like, what do I need to know? What's the meaning? So that's awesome.
Okay. Anything important for today's passage?
This is a boring passage, but it's an easy passage.
Okay.
So boring, but easy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's dive in. Scientific knowledge and technological innovation, as Yuval Noah Harari emphasizes in his book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, are among the key drivers of economic progress. Okay, so we're given a name, an author, Yuval Noah Harari, a book, Sapiens, and the author is saying that the author of this article is saying that the author of the book says that scientific knowledge and technological innovation are key drivers of economic progress.
Good. Now, you got to remember, it's economic progress, not just anything, right? Yeah. Economic. So you got to realize we're now talking about the economy, right? Your mind should shift towards economy, right? Okay.
Yet there is remarkably little reflection taking place about the state of science today, despite significant challenges rooted in globalization, the digitization of knowledge, and the growing number of scientists. So the author is saying, right, scientific knowledge, technological innovation are key drivers of economic progress, according to this book, yet there's not a lot of talk, there's not a lot of reflection taking place on science and challenges in science.
Sounds good. Yeah, the thinking about the state of science, right?
Yeah. Okay. At first glance, all of these seem to be positive trends. These meaning scientific knowledge and technological innovation?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so they seem to be positive trends. Globalization connects scientists worldwide, enabling them to avoid duplication and facilitating the development of universal standards and best practices. The creation... So talking about globalization... Okay, so the trends that he's talking about are in that last paragraph. The globalization, digitization of knowledge, and growing number of scientists. So he's saying those are positive trends. And so he's saying, kind of saying how globalization is a positive trend.
Right.
In enabling scientists to avoid duplication, etc.
Sounds good. So yeah, that first sentence was kind of confusing, but it's probably related to that. last sentence.
Mm-hmm.
This just makes it clear.
Yep.
Globalization, it seems like a good thing, right? It's avoiding duplication, facilitating stuff. Okay.
Yep. The creation of digital databases allows for systemic mining of scientific output and offers a broader foundation for new investigations. So again, showing how this digitization of knowledge in digital databases is a positive thing. And the rising number of scientists means that more science is being conducted, accelerating progress. Okay, so he took those three things that in the first paragraph he says are significant challenges. He's saying that they are positive trends. Interesting.
Sounds good. Yeah, and it seems like these changes are helping science in some way.
Okay.
Okay. So because it says the rising number of scientists means more science is being conducted.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, as we globalize and connect scientists, it's good for science.
Okay. But these trends are Janus-faced. So I wouldn't know, and I don't know what Janus-faced means. So I'd have to keep reading to figure out what.
Well, guess. What do you think? We were saying good stuff about science, right?
Yeah.
How globalization is helping science.
Yeah.
What do you think we're headed in now? What do you think's going to be discussed?
Maybe some bad things, because he says, but these trends are Janus-faced. So maybe
Right.
two-faced and Janus-faced.
Right. That contrast word "but" tells us maybe it's going into a new direction. Janus-faced maybe doesn't make sense, but yeah, it does sound like tooth-faced, right? So maybe it's, something to do with deception or something along those lines. Okay?
Yeah. I just looked it up. It says having two sharply contrasting aspects. So two-faced. That works.
Okay.
All right. To understand why, one must recognize first that science is an ecosystem. So the author is helping us understand why potentially it's not all good, and he's saying we have to understand that it's an ecosystem. What that means, I'm not really sure yet. Okay. Just like any other ecosystem, it is characterized by the push and pull among competing actors. So the author here is talking about an ecosystem, describing an ecosystem and how they're characterized by two opposing forces, good forces, pushing and pulling forces.
Right. So you can't just think of an ecosystem as like all fun and dandy, and like you may think of an ecosystem as something other than a push and pull. This makes it very clear. It's a push and pull system. Seems like there's some kind of competition going on here, right? Competing actors. So when you think of an ecosystem, you should really be associating it to competition.
Okay. Universities compete to ascend the research rankings. So competition, right? So push and pull among competing actors. Now he's saying universities are competing to ascend the research rankings. They want to be higher in research. Scientific journals compete to publish the most relevant papers. So you have universities competing, you have journals competing, all for this science. Conference organizers compete for the most distinguished speakers. So another example of who's competing. And then journalists compete for scoops on the most important breakthroughs. So he's got universities, journals, conferences, journalists, all competing for science, for data, etc. Funders compete to identify and support the research that will produce the most significant advances in terms of social impact, security, or commercial profitability. The author is giving us the other side, right? So in the second paragraph, he's talking about globalization and how it enables all this stuff, and the databases, how it enables all this stuff, and lots of science being conducted because we have more scientists. And yet, because it's an ecosystem, we have all of this conflict as well, this competition.
Right. So it seems like there is an ecosystem that kind of is based on competition for science, right? Science is based on this ecosystem of competition, not necessarily this connection or globalization that we were discussing in the prior paragraph.
Okay. Like in the natural world, this complex competition enables the production of both ecosystem, quote, goods and, quote, services. The author is saying because of the competition, we are producing goods and services around
Yeah,
it.
sounds good.
Our natural ecosystems produce goods in the form of raw materials and services such as maintaining oxygen in the atmosphere, pollinating plants, cleaning air and water, and even providing us with beauty and inspiration. And so I think it's just goods and services is really the takeaway. What
That's
that
it.
means in a bigger picture, I'm not sure. But
That's fine.
yeah.
As long as you know ecosystems have goods and services, you should be fine. Produces goods and services.
Okay. Our scientific ecosystems goods are the independent, distilled, peer-reviewed knowledge that drives our societies and economies forward. So he's now the author is now showing us ecosystems in the scientific world and what those goods are, the peer-reviewed knowledge, etc. Its services include an improved understanding of our world and the frameworks that best support progress, enabling us to innovate and solve problems. So the goods and services from our science, our peer-reviewed knowledge, and understanding of our world and frameworks so we can solve problems.
Sounds good. So they're just giving us what science or how science looks at goods and services relative to maybe the natural ecosystem. Okay.
Okay. The scientific ecosystem also serves us in ways that are harder to articulate. So he's saying it's not just knowledge and solving problems, but it's harder to articulate, potentially. It instills in us an appreciation for the beauty of mathematics, a belief in the inherent values of education, trust in the intrinsic worth of transnational intellectual communities, and the interest in scholarly discussion. So the author is saying that there are these other things, beauty of mathematics, values in education, they're harder to articulate, but they're also, I think what the author is saying is it's good as well. It serves us as well.
That's it. Just benefits of this scientific ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So this is hard because it doesn't seem like there was a very clear idea or argument.
Yeah.
What do you think the author is trying to say? Like, what is the argument that the author really wants you to know?
That I think that the author is saying that science and our pursuit of science and knowledge is good for our overall world, our society.
That's part of it. That's definitely an assumption that the author wants you to know, but they don't really say that directly, right? They don't say, "Oh, science is beneficial for society," right? I mean, they do mention science helps economies and stuff like that.
Okay.
But
All right. So let me
Yeah.
take a step back and try to remember what Jack Westin always says. What is it specifically saying? And I think the big takeaway is that science has this competition, this ecosystem. It's an ecosystem with competing actors.
That's the main idea, yeah. That's the idea that they really want you to know, that it's not necessarily a globalization kind of thing, right? Even though they did paint that picture, they did say some people may think of it as a globalization, etc., but really it's an ecosystem, it's competition, right, that propels science.
Okay. Don't read too far into it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely know, like, science is positive, right? That's something that the author makes you assume, right? That science is helpful. It's helping our economies. It's helping whatever. There are a lot of things that it can help with. But what is the central argument? What does the author really want you to know after you finish reading this passage? It's that science is really an ecosystem, right? And that is hard to see unless you're very, like you're really thinking about what the author wants from you. What does the author really want you to know? And it's harder for this kind of passage because the author doesn't say anything in a very passionate way. Like in the previous passages we've looked at, some of them say, oh, I really believe this, or, I rather, prefer this or that. That's not happening here. So it's a dull passage where you can lose track of the key arguments if you're not asking yourself, why did the author bring this up? What's the point of this paragraph?
When you use the links, all right, there you have it. Again, a Project Syndicate article. If you want to see the article, get a link to the article, go to MCATCarsPodcast.com and find the episode for today. And all the links, all the information will be there for you to check out. If you are looking for some more free MCAT CARS prep and strategy, go to medicalschoolhq.net/Jack Westin and click on Practice, where you can sign up for the daily CARS MCAT questions that are delivered right to your inbox. As I'm recording this morning at 6:35 a.m., I got an email from Jack Westin saying, hey, Ryan, the passage Character Traits is now up. Start it here, with a link to the MCAT passage of the day. Those come to my inbox every single day. So check them out. Again, medicalschoolhq.net/Jack Westin. Click on Practice, and you can get more free practice for the MCAT, for the CARS section, every day, right to your inbox for free. Have a great week. We'll see you next time here on the MCAT CARS podcast. Provided in this podcast, you're helping to support MedEd Media and the podcasts that we produce. Not only do you get a discount, but we earn a small commission as well. Thank you for your support.